What's your name and role in the university? My name is Dean Newman. I'm the course director for Operating Department Practice. What did you want to be when you grew up? I guess when I was 15 and a half, as did my two brothers, our father took us to the recruiting office to sit the army entrance test. And he very kindly bought us a suitcase when we were 16 and took us to the train station. So I spent a great many years, 34 years in the British Army, as a soldier and commissioned officer. And during my time in the military, I trained to become an operating department practitioner. So I guess I've two passions in my life there. One was joining the military and staying in the military for so long and having a great career. And the other was becoming a healthcare professional and sharing that passion in the military as well. What's your experience in your field? 34 years in the military, 32 years of that I was an operating department practitioner, so I've got a varied amount of experiences in both military hospitals, both home and abroad, in NHS and private sector hospitals, and also operationally as a military ODP. And I've got a lot of experience at teaching, so out of my 41 years as an operating department practitioner, half of that time I've spent in education, whether that's teaching learners to become an NVQ level 3 in operating department practice, and then later on a diploma in higher education in operating department practice, and now a 3-year BSc. So I've a varied amount of experiences both in anaesthetics, in surgery and post-anaesthetic care, all the areas associated with operating department practice, as well as lots of clinical and education experiences as well. What do you love most about teaching? Well, lots of things really. I get a real buzz from seeing learners develop from that shy, anxious individual sat in front of us on day one, to see them develop and almost blossom really into hope you're good at editing, into inspirational almost practitioners as they develop through their 3 years. What's the biggest myth about your subject? The biggest myth, I would say, and probably anybody in my position would say as an ODP, is that not everybody in the operating department is a nurse. And I think that's a popular misconception when you look at programs like Holby City and Day in the Life of an Operating Theatre. People see an individual handing instruments over to a surgeon and incorrectly assume that they are nurses, but in the main cases they are operating department practitioners. What's your teaching style? I'm not an individual that likes to use PowerPoint or those types of presentations. I'm very much a stand-up, writing on the board. So I like to make things fun, because I think when you're having fun, you're learning. Do your students just sit in lectures all day? No, absolutely not. The majority of the time, our students are engaging in clinical skills development, in our fabulous mock operating theatre in our skills building. So we'll rotate. I mean, our courses are 40 learners on an intake. So we'll split those 40 learners in a morning session into 4 groups of 10 or less. And then we'll rotate those around doing fun activities. Yes, there is a time when they'll need to sit in a classroom and be formally taught, but we try and do that in an engaged way, so it's not just them listening to us talking. We'll draw on their experiences and we'll share our own experiences with them. What's your favourite course module and why? My favourite course module is anatomy and physiology. I love teaching anatomy and physiology, because it's not just about body systems, it's how they apply to our professional area of operating department practice. So we'll talk a little around anatomy, we'll look at physiology, but we'll link it to how drugs work in a body system, on the nervous system. because that's really important for us to understand that, and it's really important for us to understand what other drugs are then given to counteract the effects on the body of certain drugs. And that's what makes a really, really good practitioner, that ability to understand why and apply it to practice. What's your favourite piece of kit you teach with? Oh my God, there's so many pieces of kit we teach with. So I guess my favourite bit of kit is, in addition to my passion for anatomy and physiology, it's surgery. So our favourite bit of kit there is these various surgical instrument trays and surgical instruments. But it's not just about the instruments, it's about how we use them, how the surgeons use them, how we recognise them, and how we anticipate what surgeons are going to need next, and hand those instruments across to the surgeon in the correct way, so that they're able to use them straight away without even looking up. What difference do you think your subject area makes to the world? I like to think, based on my experiences and based on the feedback from my own learners, and even from practice, that not only my subject, but the subjects throughout our programme make the world of difference, because quite often our first year learners, when they first go out into practice, having been on the course for 3 months, are often mistaken by our practice partners for more senior learners, if not final year students, because of the level of knowledge that they go out into practice with, the level of understanding that they go out with, and the level of their ability in terms of their clinical skills. So I think that's a real testament as well to our learners as well as the teaching team. What has your most successful student gone on to do? Our most successful student to date has gone on to train as a anaesthetic associate. So operating department practitioners, although we work mainly in anaesthetic surgery and post-anaesthetic care, we can go on to specialise in areas like anaesthetic associate, so you're working almost as an anaesthetist, or you can move on and become a surgical care practitioner, working in a surgical team and operating and doing your own minor surgical operating lists as well. It depends whether you are a hands-on person, because operating department practice, for instance, is very hands-on. Yes, it's important that we have that knowledge, have that understanding and that theoretical backup, but it's a very hands-on profession. And it depends whether you want to go into a healthcare subject. So I think if you are a very hands-on person, if you like the mystique of an operating theatre, if blood and guts don't turn you off, then I'd say that operating department practice is the profession for you. And I still remember my first time taking a patient to the operating theatre, and having a look through the little porthole into the operating room, and somebody walking up and looking at me and telling me to go away. And I thought, that's where I want to be.